What is shadow work and how do we illuminate it? How do we work with it? So, a shadow, if we think about the sun overhead, it illuminates pretty much anything. But if the light is off, if the sun is off to one side, that our body, right, comes between the light and the surface to the other side of us and creates a shadow. So there's only illumination on part. So if we think of shadow work is the place we can't see, it's hidden, it's repressed, it's unconscious. Or consciously, maybe it's the part of us that we don't want others to see. It's intolerable to us. So this makes shadow work harder to work with because it is the places that we have been in the shadow, right? And often if we think about that repression, there's parts of us that even starting very young have adapted to our environment in order to live in that environment, in order to be safe in that environment. So if we live in a family where anger isn't tolerated or emotions can be overwhelming to our caregivers, if they don't have the capacity to hold emotions, or maybe our emotions were defined for us, like we are the happy family, everything is good here, we present really well together so that everybody, right, kind of being perfect for the others who see us, right? That we adapt and sometimes there's even a safety that we need to be a certain way in order to be loved, to be cared for, to feel safe in our home. But there's also in our culture, right? There is a lot of kind of acknowledgement of intellect and capacity and power, but very little respect for emotions, right? That we can be, depending on our community, religious or spiritual community, this sense of being inspired, that things are good, be grateful, right? This acknowledgement of kind of moving above or high vibe, right? That some emotions are low vibe or negative or not acceptable or victim, right? That there is a comfortability that we have with emotions or not comfortable in our internal environment or external environment, in work, in family, in close relationships. So there is this place where we kind of can compartmentalize things. So then how do we work with these places? How do we, I don't know if we can bring them to surface. I mean, I do think that sometimes they get triggered, right? Our emotions can get triggered. And it's an opportunity for us to work with it. But we don't always have the foundation to know how to hold our emotions or how to understand why we're responding. This is when getting support can be really helpful. But some of the tools that I really like to prepare and to continue the journey, because this is a lifelong journey, right? Our emotions are with us all the time. It is a natural part of being human, right? If we're around a child and we see their emotions move from happy to sad to frustrated to confused to disappointed, right? That it's something that we move through all day, every day. So one thing that I like to do with using movement, because it is unconscious, right? Because a lot of these repressed emotions are unconscious, and movement allows us to work with things that are less cerebral, less cognitive, right? And they might be felt in the tissues as density, as tightness, right? I do body work and movement, and often when people come to me for body work, there is something that comes to surface. There often is emotions that come to surface. And it is a safe place in order to feel them and to communicate them or share circumstances around them. As is movement, right? Dance, gentle movement. I do a lot of somatic movement. It also allows us to tap into sensations. What are we feeling in the body? Hot, cold, right? A buzziness in the hands, or a density in the shoulders, a gripping in the back. Like all of that is, in some ways, building a relationship with our sensitivity, our sensory body, our sensations, which then moves us in towards feeling our felt sense of ourself, our emotions, our needs. Right? That when some things are hidden, a lot of the things are hidden. Right? So if the anger is hidden, then the stuff that the anger needs to express, set boundaries, express opinions, say that hurt me, those things can also be kind of tucked under. And one thing so some of the things that are helpful is just within the movement is also to bring some of the tools in. There are sensations lists, there are needs lists, right? So that when we get in touch with our sensations, we're a little more in tune with our impulses, our impulse for needing rest, needing food, needing comfort, needing connection, needing rest, right? Getting us closer to feelings. Right, so sensations lists, needs lists, and feeling wheels. And if you don't know where to find any of these, you can always message me and I will point you to or send you the resources that I have. But the feelings wheels are also really helpful. If we've come to the place, there's also an element of kind of numbness or fogginess when we don't know what we're feeling. A disassociation, maybe. Sometimes that's abuse or neglect in our childhood, or even, not even just in our childhood, it could be trauma from, but there's things that we don't necessarily link. So these emotion wheels are really, really helpful because sometimes we don't notice that, or we don't really correspond our tiredness to being sad and it not being expressed, or the tight jaw to being anger, or even the clenching around people when there's a boundary that we need to set that we haven't set, that we don't know how to set, right? Or a frozenness that can be a sad or a numb. Right, nausea, a disgust, or a shame. Maybe it's not even our own shame. Maybe it's shame, something that happened to us. Right, that it's part of unfreezing, untangling, demystifying what's happening inside of us. Right, that the more we bring it into the light, it's easier to work with. It's easier to hold. It's easier to have somebody hold it with us. It's easier for it to transform. Right, that our emotions are like their movement. They are very motional, and that when we don't know how to hold them, they can get stuck. Stuck is a weird word. Unfelt, unprocessed. Right, that they become stagnant. They become the things that keep us from living our life fully. So I'd love to support you. If you need any of these tools, let me know. If you have questions about anything that I shared, please let me know. And if you have anything that you would like to add into the conversation, I'd love to hear.